Welcome to the 359. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Alfred Eng.
Amazon signed a deal with Apple this month to allow the online retailer to directly sell many more Apple products and just in time for the holidays. The agreement should benefit most Amazon customers, but some third-party sellers are being left out in the cold, with only authorized Apple resellers allowed to sell through Amazon. So I had a chance to talk to one of these sellers, and he's pretty pissed. He's not happy about it. He got to build up his business on Amazon over the past 5 years, and he feels pretty jilted about the situation and feels like Amazon really isn't helping him out. Apple is obviously not helping him out in this situation either.
I mean, I feel like I'd be pissed too if I, were building a business selling all these phones and then out of the blue, Amazon just says, hey, you can't sell this anymore. This is all Apple's domain now.
Yeah. So he didn't actually sell phones as far as I could tell. What he did was sell a lot of discontinued products, which were harder to find. And it was actually really interesting to find out that he sold like hundreds of discontinued Apple keyboards that the company was no longer making, was no longer supporting. But if you are a fan of this particular keyboard or this discontinued iMac desktop, you would be able to buy it through him.
Yeah,
And
Apple has always been problematic with that, with buying just essentially reused products or
Yeah, the
anything like
older
that.
stuff.
It's more so just, hey, just come through us and buy the really expensive version instead of getting a used version of this.
Right, which is probably why Apple probably doesn't mind so much about losing these types of listings, and neither would Amazon, because there really isn't nearly as much money as selling the new iPhone. So yeah. Also, Alfred, you want to talk about Super Smash Brothers, so let's just do that right now.
All right, so we got to play it for 4 hours at an event from Nintendo about 2 weeks ago. I spent most of my time playing against Nairo. He's one of the best Super Smash Brothers players in the world. And as good as I think that I am at the game, he basically beat me up for about an hour and a half. I mean, he's like one of the best players in the world. But my first impressions of it is that it's much more competitive than Super Smash Brothers for the Wii U was, or Super Smash Brothers Brawl was, and I think it has a lot more potential to be as competitive as Melee on the GameCube was. There's just a lot of factors to it. It's more punishing. There's more options for countering. The characters feel a lot more balanced. I can go on and on about this. Do you have...
Yeah, no, definitely. Do you think it being more competitive will actually benefit the game or turn off novices and,
I mean, I think, yeah,
noobs?
because I think Nintendo is finally starting to see the competitive scene for Super Smash Brothers. They've been going to tournaments. They were at EVO, which is the largest fighting game tournament in the world. They were there to basically promote the game. They had a bunch of demo stations there. They have been inviting these like high-level players to these events. Like Nairo was the only non-press person there, and he was just kind of. And it wasn't like a big announcement or anything that he was there. He was just kind of like playing, and I like recognized him, so I went to go play with him.
Was it fun to get like completely
Yeah,
clobbered for an hour?
most people would not think that that's fun. Most people like actually want to be good at a game that they're playing, but I would liken it to like going to a basketball like showcase or something and then just playing against like Kobe Bryant like one-on-one the whole time. Like he'll destroy you, but like I had a lot of fun in that because I felt like I was actually learning from it and getting better at the game. So
Yeah. Facebook is back in hot water. Big surprise there this time because of a New York Times investigation from last week that found that the company repeatedly botched its handling of a Russia meddling operation on its social site. There was also news that it hired a DC consulting firm that was reportedly trying to discredit its critics. We'll see what Facebook ends up doing in this latest situation. What are your thoughts?
yeah, Mark Zuckerberg hosted a press call last week on this. I believe it was on Thursday, where he basically kind of deflected all the blame, saying that he had no idea that they hired this company, and he doesn't know who was responsible for it, which a lot of people are very suspicious about, considering he's the CEO of Facebook and wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
And he continues to say that, after being made aware of it from the New York Times article, that's when he decided to end that relationship with Definers. But, again, a lot of people are very skeptical of this, but he also mentioned on the call to reporters Facebook is a pretty big company, and he's not going to be aware of everything that goes on with it.
I mean, okay, that is true, but still. Anyway, if you want to read more about these stories, check them out on CNET. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Alfred Ing.
Thanks for listening.
And thus concludes the recording of the audio podcast. Go ahead and send in your questions and comments about today's stories, specifically about Smash Bros. Hey, Alfred, you want to try out that present I got you?
Oh, this one? Oh, you got that for me? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I got a few for Smash.
Oh, I mean, it's an okay game, I guess.
I figured if anybody needed a hype button on the week of Smash, it would be you.
Well, it's not the week of it. It's coming out on December 7th. That's 3 weeks from now.
Yeah,
My
so
bad.
we're going to talk about it for 3 more weeks at least, and then we're going to talk about it when the game comes out.
No, yeah, it was really fun, though. They also had booths set up for the single-player mode. I didn't write about it at all.
That's the adventure mode, right?
Yeah, so if you watch the most recent trailer, they had this whole World of Light thing where this like energy force like blasts all the characters except for Kirby, and then you have to go around the world and like save all of them from being trapped.
Do you have to be Kirby
Yeah,
in adventure
you
mode?
start with Kirby,
Ugh.
and then you rescue Mario, and then you can play with Mario next, and then you rescue all these other characters. So I played through that a little bit. I also played through the classic mode where it's just matchups, but it's like based on different themes. So if you're playing with a like a fighter kind of character like Captain Falcon, or let's just go Mario just because it's simpler. Like you'll fight only people that like fight with their fists instead of like swords and stuff. Like if you play with a character with like a laser gun, you'll fight like space characters instead throughout it. So it's like themed now. And then the final boss, like it used to just be like this master hand, like this big hand that comes and like beats you up. So now it's like based on your character. If you're Mario, you fight Bowser at the end, for example.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
So
I
they're
do
doing
like
that instead.
the weird hand that
Yeah.
would always attack me. I only played, by the way, the Super Smash that I played was the N64 version.
Yeah, so a lot
The
has
very
changed
early
since
one.
then.
Yes, I'm aware. I'm super old.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Damn, what was I going to ask you? Anyway, we'll go to questions while I try to remember what I was going to ask Alfred.
Sure. So first up from Timothy, he's asking, will Amazon eventually accept other PayPal payments? That's a good question. I always kind of wish that they would incorporate some more options as far as payments. And while we're at it, do you think Amazon's ever going to take Bitcoin? Alfred's face says it all.
The Bitcoin one is probably much more unlikely, but PayPal, that situation has been in rumor for years. It seems unlikely that that would actually happen in the United States because a lot of people that are Amazon customers, Amazon already has your credit card information. So what's the point of adding in your PayPal account? From what I've heard about it, it's more likely to happen in places like Europe where maybe that PayPal integration might make it a little bit easier to shop on Amazon. But so far, if customers were complaining and were trying to get PayPal on Amazon, then Amazon may have actually tried to do this a while ago, but it doesn't really seem like customers are clamoring for it, and that's why it hasn't happened.
I would say that PayPal, Amazon would be much easier to use if you could just use PayPal and not have an account. But I would also argue that like the majority of people on Amazon have an account there already,
and,
like mostly for
and-
Amazon Prime.
Exactly, yeah, and tens of millions of customers also have Amazon Prime, which means that, they have all your information already, and they make it so easy to buy on Amazon that, you've got like one-click shopping and also, subscription services where it's immediate reordering.
It'd just be nice that if you didn't want to use Amazon Prime, like you know that you don't order enough stuff off their website to warrant like having that kind of subscription for what is it, like $100 a year now, or?
It just got increased to $119 a year.
Yeah, so like if you know that you don't buy that much from Amazon to warrant that, like to be able to just pay with a PayPal account would be nice, but I can understand why Amazon would not do that just so to get you to sign up for their website. So
yeah,
makes sense.
Yes. Good question though. That's definitely like something that's been like in my world for quite a while.
So let's talk about solving the issue of the small business on the internet, e-commerce. Why wouldn't this guy just use eBay?
Great question. He does sell on eBay. only 10% of his business is on eBay. And, I have eBay sources that I talk to, but this is what this guy said. So, and it's fairly unvarnished. He was just basically like, Amazon's like going to the mall, whereas eBay is like going to a flea market. So you just the ability to sell is much better on Amazon, according to him.
Mhm.
It's just people tend to go to Amazon more. Amazon's obviously a much bigger e-commerce platform, so he does plan on liquidating a lot of his stuff
That's
that he
unfortunate.
won't be able to sell on Amazon. He's going to liquidate it through eBay.
Mhm.
But from what he said, he's hoping to maybe switch to different brands and maybe diversify to a variety of brands as opposed to like really, focusing on just Apple going forward, but doing it through Amazon because eBay just hasn't been as successful for him.
All right, next up, let's take one from the Datch. Do you really think Bezos and Musk want to work together? Unless it's to rule the world.
What is this about?
I'm not really sure what
Was
he's
a
bringing up,
Bezos
but
Musk thing?
I just thought it was a tasty tidbit to think about those two.
There might be some Bezos Musk news that I hadn't caught on to.
That's your job, Ben.
Yeah, you know what? I do miss something sometimes, unfortunately.
Okay, well, moving on then. From Aaron, Amazon should sell Google's products. It would generally help both of them out because they could benefit from adding Amazon services on Google devices and easily warrant that. Well, we've already been down this road before. I myself get very frustrated with trying to watch YouTube on my Fire Stick. Is there any word on any kind of calming of that quarrel, that feud between Amazon and Google anytime soon?
No, not really, because they have so many more areas for which to argue about. Amazon's getting deeper into advertising, Google's getting deeper into smart home. So they're both kind of poking each other in the eye. Google's also doing a lot more in e-commerce, not like with Google Shopping or what is it called, Google Express.
Mhm.
They have a lot more partners where it's like whether it's Walmart or Costco or Target. So there's just a lot more points of friction than maybe there were before. So, and it does kind of suck for customers, obviously, because they're the ones that end up losing out in a lot of ways. But I don't really see a situation where Amazon would start selling Google smart home
Yeah,
products.
it's like
Because,
how
yeah,
Apple with this deal with Apple and Amazon, they're selling more accessories and devices, but somehow the HomePod is missing from there. I wonder
exactly.
why.
Right. So even with like a partnership, even with them going buddy buddy with Apple, they still left out the
It
HomePod
it
for
bas-
obvious reasons.
it basically sounds like Amazon is saying you can eat at our table, but you don't eat off of my plate. And Google like directly feeds off of Amazon's plate with like the smart home department.
Yeah. I mean, there are probably Google products that are on the Amazon marketplace. You could probably find them pretty easily. There's probably the Pixel 3, I'm guessing, through the marketplace. I'm going to try to find it right now. But they do have like a hard ban on a lot of the smart home products. So you're not going to find a Google Home, Google Home Max, Google Home Mini. They're just not going to be available. Maybe some of their accessories are going to be available, like a dock or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, Amazon clearly knows that if you're coming to their website, we want you to buy Echo products, not Google products.
Next one coming in from our old friend Srinjoy. Weren't discontinued Apple products already available on eBay from high-rated sellers?
Yes.
Both
Yeah.
new and used sellings. This online seller already had stiff competition before Amazon came in. That's a good point.
I think it was more just like people. There's much less people on eBay than there are on Amazon, and people are much more willing to buy on Amazon. I think that market has always been there on eBay, but I don't know what it is about eBay. People just like shopping on Amazon more.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an unfortunate reality for eBay, Amazon. Just to get an idea for people about how much bigger Amazon is in the United States than eBay, Amazon takes about 50 cents of every dollar in US e-commerce. That's 50% of the market, whereas eBay takes about 6 to 7 cents. And they're number 2. So there's Amazon, which is all the way up here, then there's eBay, and then there's I think it's Walmart and Apple. So it's not even close. You can definitely try to salvage some of your business by switching over to eBay, but unfortunately for somebody that's been selling on Amazon for 5 years, and this guy was selling like hundreds of thousands of dollars of stuff, yeah, maybe you'll eventually get back to it on eBay, but not as likely.
From APEC, why don't all the main producers of phones, etc., just come together and allow cross-platform? It would benefit everybody. And while they're at it, why can't we just get anything we want on the platforms we want? If people want to buy a product, they're just going to buy it. So why not just offer it across the board on Amazon, Google, and etc.?
You want to field this one?
I'm looking something up right now to kind of
Okay, fine.
But if you wanna,
I'll do it. I'll do it. Yeah. There are a lot of things that would be beneficial for customers that giant companies obviously don't end up doing. And that might seem a little mystifying for customers sometimes when Amazon presents itself as being very customer centric. But big surprise, they're not customer centric all the time. And they don't benefit small sellers all the time, even though they market themselves to be doing that and being like a friend and a partner of small sellers. So that's a big reason why I wrote the story, is because that's how these companies do present themselves, but it's not the case all the time. That's pretty obvious.
there's a quote from Silicon Valley that I always think about when I think about this. When like things could be so much better if everyone just decided to work together and like make platform like products cross-platform and things like that. But so from Silicon Valley, Gavin Belson, he's like the CEO of Hooli, which is supposed to be like a fake Google, Apple kind of company. And he basically says, I don't want to live in a world where someone makes the world a better place better than we do. So everyone wants to, all of these companies want to improve the world, but they want to be the one to do it. And it's incredibly frustrating. But that's kind of the state of affairs in big tech, I would say.
Right. And you also point to the fact that if you were going to have some sort of cross-platform stuff, who is going to call the shots?
Yeah.
Is it going to be an independent board? Is it going to be the company that ended up winning the big competitive like products war at some point, and now everybody's going to, follow their lead? So it's hard to say how that would work and whether this situation is slightly better in certain ways because no single company calls all the shots all the time.
Also, just take conflicting interest and what like products people are selling. Like Apple has taken a very different stance on data privacy than a company like Facebook or Google has, or Amazon has even.
Because they have totally different business models.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, great question, and definitely kind of gets to the heart of why these things happen in the first place.
So let's take a little bit of poll. Hunter's asking, which one do we shop on? And I think this kind of includes the entire audience, Amazon or eBay. I myself have had positive experiences and negative experiences on both, more positive than negative, but I definitely go to Amazon more frequently because of the simplicity and just kind of bare bones. I don't want to fight for a price. I don't want to haggle. I just want to get the thing I want. What about you guys?
I mean, it depends on what I'm shopping for. Like if it's a vintage like t-shirt or pair of sneakers, like I know I'm not going to find that on Amazon.
Well, see, that used to be my train of thought too, and then Amazon's inventory greatly expanded to a lot of obscure stuff I never really thought I would find on Amazon. Like I used to love hunting around for like old analog music equipment on eBay, but the more and more small businesses that got involved with Amazon, you found a lot more of that stuff readily available.
Yeah, for me, most of the time I shop on Amazon. I absolutely do shop on eBay for kind of the long tail stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff that's like a little bit harder to find. I did have one negative experience from eBay, which was like, I remember it because it was so annoying. Basically, I ended up buying, what is it, Planet Earth 2, and it was the European version, which wasn't going to work on my Blu-ray. And the guy explicitly said on his listings, you cannot cancel after you've made the purchase, no matter what. And I tried to cancel within like 20 minutes once I realized what the problem was. He gave me such a hard time. It was almost impossible. And then he forgot to mail it to me. I called eBay about this. They told me there's nothing they could do about it. Whereas when I call Amazon customer services, they like bend over backwards to be like, yeah, sure, whatever. You broke this thing a year later, but what do we care?
Yeah.
But I will say that did stand out to me, but that's not the situation. That's not been the case most of the time when I do buy on eBay.
Yeah, they definitely have a very different customer service experience from both of them. I mean, I think because when you're dealing with eBay, you're like specifically dealing with the seller most of the times. So you're like getting a different bet like every time like you buy something. Whereas with Amazon, you're not. That being said, though, I still think that most people should use both of them and don't limit yourself to one website on anything because that sounds like I'm not gonna say it, but
I think we all catch your drift.
diversify where you're buying from.
Right, right. And this situation could actually benefit eBay, where if you do want to find stuff that's used, refurbished, discontinued, you might be able to find a lot more Apple products from these smaller sellers through eBay, because it's not like these products are going to disappear. They've got to get sold somewhere. So eBay is obviously in a good position to potentially try to grab more of that market. A lot of these merchants already sell on both, but it's possible they'll grab more of the business.
Here's one from Hunter. Would Google ever want to get into the vendor game? They have so many products, plus the money to get into something like that would be a large incentive. What do you guys think?
I mean, they are. They sell their phones like directly off their website. They have Google Express, which they've partnered with like Costco and all these other retailers for. I mean, it's not as expansive as Amazon's is, but
Not even close.
Yeah, they are like, I think there were talks of them opening their own store somewhere in New York too.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
They're trying to like
Yeah.
get their feet wet in e-commerce. I would probably say one of the few that's really trying to give Amazon a run for their money right now is Walmart. And they're throwing a lot of money at it, but we'll see how long-term they are committed to it. And also they make most of their money off of their stores. So a lot of times these traditional retailers, they kind of like have this epiphany years later, and they're like, why are we trying to like fight tooth and nail on online commerce? We're making less profit on online commerce, whereas like our stores are doing really well. I mean, like anybody that's read The Innovator's Dilemma knows that that's a situation that comes up all the time, but Walmart, at least for now, seems to be very committed to try to catch up to Amazon, and so far they are capturing more e-commerce dollars in the U.S.
Before we move on, did you guys, by any chance, and I never thought I'd actually speak these words on a broadcast, but did you catch SNL this weekend?
I saw the Amazon thing.
Yeah,
Oh my
That's what
God,
you're
that was
asking.
wonderful. I just wanted to bring that up. If anybody hasn't seen it, Saturday Night Live took a real nice swipe at Bezos this weekend. I thought it was a pretty clever, a clever duck on their part. It's worth the watch, I
Yeah.
think.
I like that take, because obviously a lot of the other takes were specifically like, I read a lot of stories about, hey, these incentives are too rich and like Amazon sucks because they took the money that was on the table that everybody knows was going to be available to them. But the SNL take was a lot funnier, where it just kind of was Bezos trying to troll Trump with two headquarters. So yeah, definitely watch that. It's not that long either.
It was pretty clever, and it did kind of prove the point that the headquarters probably could have benefited from some better locations, but we won't go down that road right now. We got to talk about Smash Brothers coming to a VR platform. Do we
Hype
ever think
train.
that's going to happen, Alfred?
No, definitely not. I mean, it might if you're like if Nintendo decides to go that route, but like considering that it's locked as a Nintendo property, and I have not seen any signs of Nintendo trying to go VR, because they already have a lot of stuff like motion control stuff with it already, and nobody plays with motion control competitively. Like you can probably play with like the Joy-Cons and like, you know, swiping up and whatever. I doubt that anyone in tournament play would do that. And I think that's the closest that you'll get to having a VR like experience, but you're not going to have like a headset or anything like that anytime soon.
Yeah, it might come sometime in the future,
Yeah.
but yeah.
What would you want to see out of future Smash installments, Alfred? With your takeaway so far on Ultimate, what do you think Smash needs to do next to keep things
That's
fresh?
such an easy question.
I think an online play, like they've done a lot to improve the online system, but I think that an online system similar to what they did with Dragon Ball Fighter Z or Street Fighter 4, 5, and Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is probably the biggest thing on my wish list. So right now Nintendo, they obviously were like pretty late to the game as far as like online play goes, but they're still using friend codes, which is extremely frustrating to the point where fans have to set up their own kind of online system. There's one called like Anther's Ladder, where it's ranked based on the honor system. So you play and you mark like if you won the match or not. and then like you
Ridiculous.
you move up the ladder that way until like you're matched up against people that are at your level. Because right now, the way that I've been playing it, you're just matched up with random people all the time, unless you know good people, and then so one way is you're matched up with random people, and then like you never know what you're gonna get. Also, like connection wise, like you don't know if they're like playing on a really laggy connection or anything like that, and it's just generally frustrating. If you know people that are really good, then you kind of like have to do this like off the record, not off the record, but like it's not on the platform. Like there's no voice chat or anything like that, so you have to like reach out to them, say, hey, do you want to play? Blah blah blah. Like here's my friend code, and then once you've added them as friends, you don't have to keep sending the friend code. But it's just annoying. Like
It could definitely make that a lot easier.
yeah, like Pokemon was able to figure that out with like its online gameplay, and I wish that Smash had the same thing. So with this one, they are doing something like that. There's like global rankings now, and like if you're good enough, you get in like some kind of like a higher tier level where you only play against other people that have also reached that tier. But I haven't seen much of that. Like they didn't let you do online play during the 4-hour demos that we did, but that would be my biggest thing. Like having the online play be much more competitive.
I literally thought you were just going to say Waluigi.
Like, no, I don't care about Waluigi.
Okay. Other people seem to, but yeah.
That was the most well thought out response I think you've ever given on the show, Alfred. Just
Yeah.
putting that out there. Before I completely spaced on this, but big welcome back to APEC. We haven't seen you in the chat in a while, and I totally spaced on this when I noticed you throwing comments down, but it's great to have you back. Hope you're on the mend, and it's great to have everybody along. We are out of time for the day, and because of the Thanksgiving holiday, 359 will be taking a brief hiatus. We will be back tomorrow with special guest, right, Ben?
Yes. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to line up David Katzmeyer, so send in Hype Train. Send in all your TV-related questions and entertainment system-related questions. It seems like a good time to talk to David just ahead of, like, I don't know, the holiday shopping orgy that is Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So, and then we'll be back on Monday, right, Brian?
Yeah, so we're going to take Wednesday off, obviously Thursday, Friday off, and then, yeah, we'll be back on Monday. What day of the week is that? Or what date is that?
I don't know. It's a day.
Monday the 26th will be resuming regular schedule. So yeah, we got a short week this week, but hopefully you can bear with us.
Yeah, and enjoy Turkey Day if we don't see you tomorrow. Oh, is it time to go?
Yeah, it's time to go.
Oh, it's time to go. All right. The 359 is available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, FeedBurner, Google Play Music, Google Podcast, Amazon Echo, and of course, CNET.com. Thanks everybody for watching. Welcome back, APEC. We'll see you tomorrow.
All
Bye,
right,
folks.
Alexa, play Despacito. Good night.